This is the Stop Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Hopkins, and I'm here to engage you in thought-provoking, motivational conversations around practicing the art of living in the moment. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm excited to dig deep and offer insights into embracing who we are and where we are at. Today I'm speaking with Gabi Campo, who made her Broadway debut as a swing, covering 10 ensemble parts and understudying the lead roles of Emma and Alyssa in the Broadway musical The Prom. Now at just 23 years old, Gabi plays Consuelo and understudies Anita in the Broadway revival of West Side Story. Welcome, Gabi.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's so great to see you. Thank you so much for spending time with me here today on Stop Time.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Yeah. So let's just jump right in if it's okay with you.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Do you remember the moment on March 12th when you heard that Broadway was going to shut down?
Oh, absolutely. Oh gosh, it was such a hectic day. We were in understudy rehearsals at the theater. I was rehearsing Anita. And then kind of in the middle of rehearsal, someone kind of yelled out, "Oh, we don't have a show tonight." And everyone kind of immediately went to their phones, and it was a shock. And so we all thought, okay, we don't have a show tonight. What's happening? Well, I guess the only thing we can do is just keep rehearsing. So we kept rehearsing, and then we kind of got more and more information as the rehearsal went on.
Wow.
And of course, you start to panic, you start to get really anxious. And I got home from rehearsal at 4. And I just thought to myself, I didn't want to get stuck here. I was nervous that they were going to shut down the subways. At that time, we really didn't know what was going to happen. So I got a flight and I was home by 4 p.m. and I was on the flight by 10 p.m.
No kidding.
Yeah. So it was really just me saying, I want to be home with my family. I want to make sure that I'm not stuck here in New York. I'd kind of anticipated that. There had been talk backstage, like, what are we going to do if Broadway shuts down? And it happened. And I, like you said, I really just acted on instinct. And I said, you know what, I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I'd also kind of mentally checked out too, when you're in such a long preview process. We were in previews for 3 months for a West Side Story, which is completely uncommon, and then you open and, you start doing the thing, you start running the show, after a while you start to get burnt out. So I would definitely say that I was getting burnt out.
In a way, it presented an opportunity for you to get some much needed space from that intensive period of rehearsing and previewing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost kind of a relief in a way. And incredibly sad on the other hand. It was a whole mixture of emotions.
I bet. I'm just curious to know what the aftermath of that was for you.
I feel like I went through phases. I went through phases of relief and kind of feeling like I was on a vacation. And then I would plummet into like depression and anxiety. And I was thinking, like, what am I doing with myself? How am I gonna make this time productive? Because it seemed like it was going to get longer and longer and longer. And then I would have highs where I felt like really like, oh, I'm being productive and I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm working on my acting and I'm working on taking dance classes online and oh, this is great. And then I would go straight back down again. And then, a huge thing also, I think not a lot of people want to mention, in the Broadway community, especially, and in the entertainment community is, how am I going to stay in shape? How am I, I was in incredible shape when I left the show when COVID happened, and then, I'm sitting on my butt, and it was also a depression where I was like, I need to stay in shape. I need to work out. I need to stay strong to be able to return to my show. But on the other hand, I'm like, I have no motivation. And so, it really goes up and down. And I would say that it goes up and down daily. And in the past few weeks, I have kind of come to a realization that all of that is okay, and that I'm okay to go through all of those emotions. And as much as I say it to myself, it's a struggle daily to remind myself and to also stay grateful for what I have instead of what I don't have. Because I feel like, especially performers and especially me, I end up thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? How can I make this time, quote unquote, productive? How can I be doing what I need to be doing? And even if we're saying to ourselves, like, oh, well, it's okay to relax, it's okay to do this, there's still a little voice in the back of your head that says, no, that's wrong. You should be doing something. You should be learning. You should be doing this. And recently I've found that, especially with all the civil unrest going on and all of that, it makes you really realize how good you have it. And, even if my life isn't perfect, we all have our struggles. We all have our things that we need to deal with, things that are happening us that we need to deal with. I have found that me looking at what I do have instead of what I don't have has helped me to be in the moment and to not have so much anxiety about this period of time, that this is all just a part of the journey. And that even just having conversations with people that you normally would be too busy to have, whether that's family or friends or your neighbor next door that I haven't seen for 6 years, like just being able to have those conversations and to connect really helps.
Yeah. I love that you are learning, and it sounds like it's a fairly, it's a process, as you said, but that you're learning a lot more about yourself and living in the moment. Tell me a little bit more about that and what it means to you, and maybe it's, the definition has changed for you. I don't know. I'm curious.
Living in the moment for me has always been really difficult. Really, really difficult. I would consider myself a dreamer, right? And I think so many performers are dreamers. So we have these big, lofty goals, right? But for me, it was always a choice that I made to never think about where I was in that moment. And I was always thinking about what I could be doing, or fears or anxieties about something in the future. It's such a hard question.
Yeah, it is.
It's such a hard question because, you're always thinking about things in the future. You're always thinking about, things that could or could not be. Am I going to get that job? Am I going to, is work going to be good for me today? And I never really sat with myself and thought, like, I'm okay right now, because whenever I would sit with myself, I would jeopardize it for myself. If I was alone with my thoughts, I was just so wrapped up in something else. Just being able to sit in your living room and, play the piano and not have a goal of thinking, I need to learn this piece, I need to learn this concerto, whatever. Every little step, every little thing that you learn, every little day that you just spend, like, just listening to yourself and listening to other people and learning instead of having a goal is a productive day.
Yeah. If productivity were not a thing, and it was just about, living your best life without, showing how productive you are, what might that look like for you?
It's interesting that you say that, because recently I made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to be productive, quote unquote, for other people, and that's something that I'm definitely working on, and that I have awareness of within myself, is that I find that I do things to seek validation from, from anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I'm definitely, working on, and it's extremely hard. And in that practice, I have stopped kind of posting on Instagram,
Mm.
like on stories and all of that, like what I'm doing. And I have found that, and I'm not perfect, definitely not perfect. It's baby steps, but I have found that it's actually freed me in a way, because I have been 10 times more creative. Um, I have been listening a lot more, listening to my parents, listening to my sister, listening to other things.
Mm.
Um, and I've kind of been trying, like I said, I'm not preaching that I'm a perfect person that doesn't try to get validation from other people. But like I said, even those baby steps of just trying little things really has like freed me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a journey.
Yes. I mean, that's an amazing, amazing discovery and awareness that you have right there. I'd love just to stop and just celebrate you for that. It's so important what you just said. And it's so interesting, isn't it, that the moment that you shifted your energy from fear-based values and wanting validation and doing things for reasons other than purely your own, you find yourself having more energy and actually, more room for creativity and just more space, it sounds like.
Yes, like exponentially.
Yeah. So isn't
Yeah.
that funny? So, I mean, with productivity not being the bad word anymore, I bet you're being more productive.
Yes, I am. Because also, yeah, like you put limits on yourself and you think, I have to do this. And I've kind of tried to reframe that
Yeah.
perspective, in that I don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I get to do it,
Yes.
and we, performers say that all the time at work, like, oh, I don't have to do the show today, I get to do the show today,
Mm.
but words are cheap, unless you put that into action. It's just words. Just putting that into action for me has helped.
No, absolutely. So I understand that your Broadway debut in the prom was not exactly how you had imagined it. So
No.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, okay, sure. So really, really long story short, Beth Level, who played Dee Dee Allen in the prom, she walked off stage at Places. So like the curtain's about to go up, everyone's on stage, everyone is ready for the show to start, um, they're on standby. Beth Level walks off stage and she starts to throw up. She's very sick. So, in a strange turn of events, there were only so much coverage in the building. And I'm in my dressing room, and they run up to me and they say, Gabi, we need you to go on. And at that point, I hadn't gone on yet. We had just opened, like it was the weekend after opening. And they kind of bark at me like, you need to go on, we need you to go on, are you able to go on right now? And I said, oh my god, absolutely, which part do you want me to go on, like tell me what I'm doing. And there was kind of mumbling backstage. I didn't really know what I was
Wow.
doing, what I was supposed to be doing. And then they all come back to me and they go, we need you to go on for Courtney. And I said, Courtney? I don't cover her part.
Mm.
And they were like, are you able to go on for Courtney? If we give you 5 minutes, can you go on for Courtney? And I said, Okay, yeah, sure. Absolutely. You know, it was my Broadway debut. I was like, yes, let's do it. Um, and so in the next 5-10 minutes, they put my hair up into pin curls. I slapped makeup on my face. I was learning her lines. I was learning her blocking. Um, and they put me in costume and they pushed me on stage. And the most ironic thing was that this part, Courtney's part, was a reporter in the first number of the show, and the overture ends, the curtain goes up, and then Courtney's part steps forward and says the first kind of like opening monologue of the show, you know, kind of like this short blurb. And so the orchestra started, the overture ended, the curtain went up, and I stepped forward with this microphone, and I was like, oh my God, I guess this is it. This is my Broadway debut. I don't know what's going to happen. And I went on. Um, I succeeded in not killing anyone, going on in a part that I didn't cover for my Broadway debut.
That's amazing. And I'm so interested in that because first of all, I honor you for saying yes. But what intrigues me the most is that you were forced to be in the moment.
Oh my God, yes.
So how did it feel? Like, what was the feeling? Because you couldn't prepare for that. You didn't.
It really is the most like high stakes living in the moment that you could ever think of. Like
Yeah.
you really have to have um a talent, I guess, in turning off every negative voice in your head. Every negative emotion I've ever had. Like all you can do is think, I know this, I'm gonna kill this. Um, and really, it's fight or flight. Like you just have to go immediately into fight mode and you have to fight for it. It is not easy. It is truly like one of the most scariest and exhilarating feelings you'll ever feel in your life. It, it, it's crazy. The first time that I went on for Emma, which is the lead in the show, um, I was so extremely nervous. In the first act, she sings this song called Dance With You, which is basically her I Want song. It's her big moment. You know, she sings this huge note at the end. And I remember standing at the lip of the stage, basically, you know, my first time going on as Emma, and I forgot the lyric to this, to basically like the iconic song in the show. I forgot the lyric to like the beginning of the song. And I just stood there. And luckily, the conductor, she was with me. She watched me. I just stood there and I thought to myself, like, you know, Gabi, you know this. You know, easily that could make someone, you know, flubbing a line, you know, singing a huge song in the show, playing the lead in a Broadway show in front of 2,000 people, that could easily fuck with you.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like that could derail the entire show. And I said, I will not allow myself to do that. I have to go. I have to do this. It's do or die. And I just like took the biggest breath that I ever could in my life. And like I said, like all the negative emotion, I pushed out of my butthole. And uh, the lyric immediately came back to me. And I said, not only am I just going to get through this song, I'm going to fucking kill it. Right? I'm going to kill this song. And I don't know if I did, but I said to myself, I was, you know,
Yeah.
um, and I got through the song and I got through the big note at the end. And I was really proud of myself because, you know, there's no way to prepare for that. The only thing that is telling about those situations is how you recover, how you get through them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And my debut for Anita was very similar. I had 30 minutes before I went on, you know. I remember just like crying after, was that I just remember crying because I was thinking, you know what, I'm really proud of myself. It wasn't perfect, and I could spend hours picking apart every little single thing that I did, quote unquote, wrong. Yeah, I think it's just making room for, like, saying I did a really good job, and I'm not gonna harp on the things that I think that I didn't do well, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. I mean, you have such a grace about that you offer yourself. You offer yourself this grace
Right.
of good for you. And it's interesting because you talked earlier about, the voice in your head, during COVID, like during quarantine, where you're that's saying you should be doing this and you should be doing that, and blah, 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 blah. But when I hear you talk about these moments where you give yourself that grace.
Yeah, and also you saying that brought up for me also that, in those situations where it's fight or flight, it feels like you're gonna die, like in those high stress situations, you don't care about anyone else in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really don't, or at least I don't, and it's so strange that, a big part of my being is wanting validation from other people, when in those moments that really matter, you know you only really care about if you made yourself proud. When in those moments when I felt like I was my best self, yes, I was performing in front of 2,000 people, but I was doing it for me, you know,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
powerful.
Huge.
Yeah, I'm just kind of realizing that right now, with you saying that. Yeah, that's cool.
That's massive. That's a massive, massive strength.
Yeah.
And it's a resource that you have clearly. And it's interesting that you kind of just, as we speak about it, are just starting to realize. And I would encourage you to think about in every area of your life. Obviously, it's serving you very well in the work that you do. How might this strength of yours be leveraged in other areas of your life, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. It
right?
could, I mean, when you put it like that, it could open up so many um, avenues for me, spiritually, career wise, in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's huge. Hmm.
Um, so just going back to, this uncertainty in the industry and all these things that we can't control, how much energy would you say you spend worrying about things that you can't control?
Oh, 90% of my energy. It's very difficult. Actually, living in the moment is the hardest thing to do. And to not worry about things, oh my gosh, like, it's crazy. And so it's just like this awful cycle of worrying, anxiousness, then coming up with something in your head to over stress and over worry about, overthink about.
Yep.
And then you get mad at yourself because you're thinking, oh, this is not elevated thought. This is not helpful to me. And it's just so destructive.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and even like now, you know, going forward, auditions, they're going to be self-tape, at least for the next year, right? And now every single time I have an audition and I get in front of my cell phone and put a backdrop up, I start to have a panic attack because I think that it's like, if I don't make this good, you know, it it's going to ruin my life. You start to go to those extremes, and I start to go to these extremes. It's so destructive.
Yeah,
It can just be so toxic.
absolutely. And so normal too, by the way, like so
Yes.
common. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I know it's common, but when you're in the moment, you
Mm.
think, I'm the only person going through this.
Yeah.
Like, everything is so high stakes.
Yeah.
And you know, in a lot of ways, it's almost harder if you have a strong support group. You know, my family is very, very supportive, and I have been with them for the past 3 months. You know, they will always give me positive affirmations and validations because they love me and they're my family. And I really appreciate them and love them for that. But then it also comes to a point where, you know, at least I've said to myself, like, why can't I say these things to myself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't I believe them? Why? And not in those fight or flight moments, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
when you're completely calm, because I can do that in the fight or flight moments. When I'm under pressure, I can do it like nobody's business. I
Yeah,
think, I hope.
clearly. Well,
Right,
clearly you've demonstrated that you can. So, I mean, that's, yeah, you
right.
obviously can. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so, right? But even then I'm like, yeah, well, maybe I didn't, you know.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. And you know, um I think it's a battle and a thing that I will keep learning, a skill that I'll keep learning until the day I die, you know.
Absolutely. It's a journey, as you said. You know, it's
Yeah.
us. It's a practice.
Yes.
No matter what happens with the industry, no matter what happens in life, whatever. What do you know will still be true about Gabi that no one can take from you?
What do I know about me?
Yeah. What do you know will be true about you, no matter what happens?
That no matter, okay, I'm getting emotional. This is good. We're going down the right path. Um, that no matter what I do in my life, that I will be happy with myself.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
that's beautiful.
Because I think that, you know, performers become so wrapped up in who they are and their ego and all of that. And it becomes your identity, right? You know, you think singing and dancing and acting is my identity. And it's not until, you know, when people are in their 60s or 70s where they lose their singing voice or they can't dance anymore, where, you know, they have to find out who they really are, you know, without those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that quarantine has, and COVID has helped me, you know, put me on the path of realizing that no matter what I do in my lifetime, if I'm not a big Broadway star, if I'm not a movie star, if I am not a Latina that will be put in the history books, that it's okay. And if I can help one person, then that's all that matters. And that I will know within myself that I am okay and I am whole outside of being an actor and singer, a dancer, a performer.
Mm,
Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
that what will ring true is that I will always be a good person. I will always be a kind person. I will always be a loyal person. And I will always be a contributing human to this earth.
Yes.
And that, you know, being on Broadway one more time would be really nice,
Yeah.
but it doesn't complete me as a human. Because at a young age, I've had those moments where I have taken the last bow of a Broadway show and I have, you know, signed autographs for for screaming fans at the stage door, and then you go home and you're all alone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really finding wholeness in ways that are much less tangible than being a being on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
and that if I don't achieve peak whatever I want to achieve in my life, and of course we're all dreamers, we all have goals, we all, want to have a Cinderella story, no matter what I choose to do, I will have that joy, the same joy, if not more, than I would have thought that I had at when I reached my goal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can see the wheels churning, and I can see that you're emotional about it, and that's beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable with me. I appreciate it.
No, yeah, thank you.
No, that was so beautiful what you shared there. Where do you see yourself 3 years from now, say?
I don't know. I hope 3 years from now I'm a better person than I am today. I hope that I know a lot more. I hope that I've harnessed my powers more.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that everyone in my family is safe and healthy, that I get to perform on stage again, or even better, behind a camera.
Listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to be in the moment with me today. And before we say goodbye, I really like to ask all my guests, what are the top 3 things that happened so far today?
The top 3 things that happened today. I woke up.
Yep.
I am healthy. I tested negative for COVID-19.
Yes.
And I ate really good French onion soup.
I love that. Those are such important staples of life. And to be able to be in gratitude for the simple things is just fantastic. What are you most looking forward to today?
I have been tie-dyeing, and I've been selling them, and I've been donating proceeds to Black Lives Matter organizations. So I am really looking forward to just opening the tie-dye up, because it's really fun to see the designs.
You are such a delight. You're such a delight. And if there was one word that would describe you when speaking with you, the word that keeps coming to me, if I can share with you, is possibility. When people talk about that sparkle in the eye, that you see everything through the lens of possibility. I love that. It's gorgeous, and it's beautiful, and it's infectious.
Oh, thank you. That makes me want to cry.
Well, it's just who you are. You're incredible. I've been speaking today with Gabi Campo. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and healthy, everyone, and remember to live in the moment.
Thank you.
In music, stop time is that beautiful moment where the band is suspended in rhythmic unison, supporting the soloist to express their individuality. In the moment, I encourage you to take that time and create your own rhythm. Until next time, I'm Lisa Hopkins. Thanks for listening.